Hey there, marketers. My name is Monique Ruiz, and I'm a director of marketing at Claritas. I'm so grateful to have just had the chance to sit down with Gonzalo Del Fa, president of GroupM Multicultural. Under his leadership, GroupM Multicultural handles 1 billion in billings from clients like Unilever, Target, L'Oreal, IKEA, Universal Pictures, and more. Not only that, but he's a Hispanic Marketing Council board member and has won numerous awards over the years, like the Media Maven of the Year in 2014 and the Executive Leadership Award in 2017. Gonzalo and I spent quite a bit of time talking about GroupM's new and ongoing multicultural initiatives, discussing ways brands can increase their diversity and inclusion efforts in a way that is relevant and actually matters to consumers. And we even talked about the non negotiables when it comes to having access to accurate data on multicultural consumers. So sit back and hear what Gonzalo Del Fa, president of GroupM Multicultural, has to say. So, Gonzalo, thank you for joining me and taking a few minutes out of your schedule for our fireside chat on the multicultural market in the US.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Very excited to, chatting with you today.
So, for those that don't know too much about the work you do at GroupM or don't know you as well, can you introduce yourself in your own words and kind of shed some light on what GroupM is known for?
Yeah, so I'm Gonzalo Del Fa. I'm the president of GroupM Multicultural. GroupM is the holding company of different media agencies, Mindshare, Mediacom, Webmaker, Essence, and M6. And I basically manage all multicultural initiatives within those agencies. So we basically work across hundreds of clients.
Right. So I was doing a little bit of research before you and I met today, and I was reminded that last summer Group M launched the Multicultural Marketplace. So can you tell us a little more about what that is and why it's important for you to provide opportunity for clients to plan and buy Hispanic and Black owned and focused media programmatically?
Yeah, so, first of all, I want to say we launched the Multicultural Marketplace before all the events that happened in this country last year. And I'm saying that because I know a lot of companies reacted to those events and they began kind of like caring more and talking more about, multicultural and the importance after the events of last summer. We launched the marketplace, I would say it was probably around April last year. And I would say that the main reason was to really provide our teams an easy way to engage with multicultural audiences. One of the challenges we usually face is that, some people believe that there's not enough scale when you get into multicultural properties. And what we wanted to demonstrate is that there's actually scale, and not only you can drive that scale, but you can actually drive relevancy and authenticity by engaging with these, partners that are fully dedicated to Black, Hispanic, Asian, or the LGBTQ communities.
Hmm. So you said that you guys launched it right before all of the events of last summer, but in that same time frame, there was that big cultural shift that kind of saw companies across the U.S. and beyond kind of increasing their commitment to diversity and inclusion efforts across the board. Are you seeing agencies actually follow through on those promises to shift their budgets towards multicultural audiences and make those necessary changes in leadership to be more representative to the consumers that they were potentially underserving?
I think we are all aiming towards the same direction. I think that we are all trying to, be more inclusive. I mean, I cannot speak for other agencies. What I can say is we launched the multicultural marketplace, which was actually, after we launched our new majority initiative, which was basically to make clients understand that they had to implement inclusive marketing. So all audiences should be included in everything a brand is doing. And more recently, we launched our media inclusion initiative, which was doubling down on minority owned media. Again, as you said, there are many agencies, pointing in the same direction. What I would say is, number one, I feel extremely positive that this is having a real impact in the industry. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think I'm not going to say we moved already, but we are very close to move from justifying the why to taking action more through the how. And what I mean by that is for many years, we had to basically explain why brands had to do multicultural. They had to speak to the Hispanic audience or to the Black audience or the Asian audience. And I feel that many of the marketers are realizing that the why it's not what they need to be asking because everyone should be doing it. So now we're concentrating more in how do we do it. So now, interesting enough, that is opening a whole different level of questions. But again, it's progress. We're not going all the time saying, well, you have to understand the business opportunity, or you have to understand, how many Hispanics or how many Blacks are in the U.S., or why you need to talk to them in a different way. I think we finally established that, and now marketers are thinking, okay, I got it, I need to do it. How do I do it? So I think that is one of the most important pieces. The other one is I think we have to redefine the meaning of general market. I mean, it's amazing that today, and again, I'm saying this because the census came out, 42% of the population is not white. We still talk about general market, assuming that is the white population. Again, we need to redefine general marketing. We could, at some point, say, hey, you know what? When I say general market, I mean everybody out there. I will be extremely happy. I think we haven't gotten there yet. And I think we still need a little bit of time to get there. But again, if we redefine general market and we understand that when you're putting a strategy together, you need to think about all audiences and be inclusive of all these audiences in every marketing campaign, I think we are all moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard the saying before: progress, not perfection.
Yeah,
It takes time. So.
yeah, absolutely.
So, part of what your team does, they provide clients with that informed viewpoint of multicultural audiences across the US. So then they can execute those more relevant, responsible, data backed campaigns. And we just wrapped up Hispanic Heritage Month when we're recording this. But I'm curious, where do you see advertisers and brands kind of struggling the most when they're trying to reach or connect with the Hispanic market in particular?
Again, going back to the general market definition, I've seen so many times briefs that they said, I want to reach women 1849, just to give an example. And there's a tacit assumption that when we say women 1849, we're referring to white women 1849. And again, if we think about it, well, 50% of women 1849 are actually not white. So we need to understand that we're changing the way we've been working for ever, I would say ever. And that requires changes in the way we think, in the way we look at insights, in the way we think about media partners, in the way we think about the content that we're looking for, the context that we're using in order to place whatever the communication we are putting in place. So again, I think that there are different factors. Now, at the end of the day, if we think about it, it's about marketing. And marketing is about, reaching the right people at the right time, in the right place, with the right message. So if we think that way, then, well, you should be including all these audiences all the time because they represent part of your, consumer base. Now, when you said what we are still struggling with, again, the positive note is that we're not justifying the why anymore, and now we're implementing different ways to engage with this audience. What I think we need to kind of help raise the bar is by the knowledge of how to understand these audiences, how to understand culture. I was talking with somebody recently, and they said, well, if I want to reach Hispanics, all I need is Spanish. I said, well, you know what? Spanish is a big portion of Hispanic culture, but Hispanic culture means much more than just Spanish language. So again, you need to have the right talent, you need to have the right knowledge, and you need to have a client that is open to change the way they've been doing things. So again, there's a little bit of education, there's a little bit of hand holding, but I think the most important piece of all this is that this is not rocket science. this is not a whole different way of doing marketing. This is just paying more attention to the different audiences that are out there, understanding what these different audiences have in common, because there are a lot of commonalities, and try to take advantage of those commonalities to drive efficiencies, but at the same time understanding the nuances. Because if you don't understand the nuance, your message is going to dilute in the overall. So if you really take advantage of those nuances, you're going to be able to drive effectiveness. And I think that, again, it sounds very simple, and I think we need to also make this simple for those that are starting this journey. And again, I'm not blaming anybody. If you haven't started, there's always a good time to start. Now, don't think that you can keep waiting. It's my message, because many brands have jumped into this and they have realized that their source of growth is multicultural audiences. So, it might be a little bit uphill if you're the last in line, but that doesn't mean that you can just say, you know what, this is not for me. Again, going back to what I was saying before, when 40% of the population of this country is not white, if you are any marketer, it doesn't matter which category, which brand, which industry, you cannot avoid it. You cannot just say or ignore it, actually. You cannot say, you know what, I don't care about that audience. It's too large for somebody to ignore it.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. So, there's sometimes a criticism with marketing that is focused on specific consumer groups, especially when it comes to multicultural. You have one side that argues that it perpetuates negative racial profiling that society is trying to erase. And then on the other side, you have those that celebrate the fact that our differences are what make us unique. And those cultural nuances, like what you talked about, they deserve recognition and not a blanketed marketing effort. Have you or GroupM ever come across situations where those potential clients are kind of questioning the need for understanding that uniqueness of multicultural audience? And if so, how do you respond to that?
It's a great question. And what I think is that, there's nothing wrong in celebrating the nuances of the different audiences. I understand the point that sometimes you can say, hey, you know what, in these times that we are all the same, that we all, should have the same opportunities, why are you doing something specific for this audience? And I think we need to go back to the insights. Do I need to do something specific for this audience? Is there a nuance that really requires speaking to this audience in a different way? Um, I always give the example of a client, and it was a very, I would say, a category that you would say, you know what, everyone is the same. In this category, everyone perceives the same about the brands, everyone feels the same about the brands. But the reality is that the context of where this brand lives is very different for a Black family, for a Hispanic family, for a Caucasian family. If you don't address that, then all of them are going to feel that they are not being represented. So I think that more than thinking about, you know what, I want to talk to everyone the same, there's no one size fits all. Let's be honest. I mean, if we think about marketing, forget about audience, forget about the United States, think about marketing in a global basis. We all want to have that message that is going to resonate with you, just specifically with you. And we do everything we can in order to customize that message so it is absolutely relevant just to you. This one-on-one marketing is something we've been talking about for a long time. We are not in 1950 that you would put an ad out there and wish for the best and everyone consumes the same and everyone likes the same color. It doesn't work that way anymore. So this is exactly the same. As much as we want to customize our message in order to make it relevant for, again, somebody that has curly hair, somebody that has curly hair and blonde, or curly hair and brunette, or straight hair. You know what I mean? If we are going so granular, it makes sense to use the same concept when we're talking to multicultural audiences. Now, if every person out there consumes a product exactly the same way and perceives the product the same way, and there are no nuances, fine, clearly one message is going to make it. And again, that's why I mentioned before about the commonalities and the nuances, because most of the times you're going to find commonalities and you're going to find nuances. And you have to understand this from a brand perspective, from how these different consumers, consume media, where they find their content, how they feel about that content. And that's when you start playing a little bit more with the commonalities and the nuances. Now, I, when we think about the automotive category, everybody is looking for cars that are more fuel efficient. So that's a commonality. Yeah, no one wants to buy a car that it sucks when it's about using gas. Now, that commonality will make sense for that specific message. But on the other hand, there are other nuances that might make a Hispanic buy a car because of other features, or a black person because of other features. So again, it's a little bit of a game, understanding the insights and understanding the differences and the things that are common to different audiences.
Speaking of insights, I can't pass up the opportunity to talk specifically about data, considering, at least at Claritas, that's our bread and butter. So, we truly do believe that having great and not just good data is to work with is a non-negotiable for
Yeah.
advertisers or our clients. So, what are your top considerations when you're evaluating data or data partners to help your clients see success in the multicultural marketing space, especially as we're kind of hopefully mid or post, getting close to post pandemic times?
Yeah, I mean, that we have a great partnership with you guys, and I always appreciate it, how committed and involved you guys are. Uh, and as you also know, I have a dedicated team that all they do is market analytics. They crunch data, they look at every single resource that is out there. I think it's a combination. I think it's information that we have that is our own, and our own studies, syndicated information from different sources. Uh, and I would say, the beauty is combining all this data that is available to uncover real insights that would make a difference in how a brand speaks and engages with the multicultural audiences. You said, who is more important or who's better than the other one. Again, for me, and I always say the same, I leave this to my analytics team. They are the experts, they are the brain behind everything we do, and they are an amazing team. But I always say the same, if you can really combine as much information as possible coming from different sources, syndicated, proprietary, from the client, we're going to have a much richer understanding of who these consumers are. How can we talk to them to really cut through the clutter? How can we connect with them in a really authentic way that, again, is the dream of a brand, that when a consumer is there, it's like, wow, I love that's for me. What I think it's a combination of things. Sometimes, you need to look at some kind of data in order to get there. Sometimes we need to work with our clients to see how much is available. There's some categories that are doing better from a pure, public data out there. There are some other categories that it's really hard to find information. That's why we always talk to clients and say, okay, the first thing we want to assess is, what do you have? How much do you know about your brand and these consumers? And again, this is also a little bit of a journey. I mean, I remember one of our main clients 8 years ago, the information they had was very limited. And it was a matter of how they were collecting that information. And after we spoke and we say, hey, you know what, if we really want to have accurate ROIs, and if we want to really understand, what is the impact of what we are doing from a media perspective, can we start collecting this data? And we did. And they built an amazing database. And today, the level of decisions that we make every single day are much more intelligent because we have that information. So again, yes, they're amazing partners like you guys. Uh, there are other information that you might get through your agency, media or creative agency, but also, look inside and see what you have and if what you have actually is actionable data. And I always make that very strong point about actionable. I mean, I've seen many times, companies with a ton of data and they don't know what to do with it, or they don't know where to start. Well, it has to be action. And I mean, data on its own means nothing. What you need is to find a way to make it actionable in whatever you're doing, in your product development, in your media campaign, in your messaging, whatever it is. So again, I think, you know, the larger you can get information, the better results you're gonna get. And I remember somebody, in my team said to me one time, we can have amazing tools, but if we plug crap is gonna come out. And this is the same. If you plug really good data, amazing outputs you're gonna get.
Agreed. We say that on our team all the time. So I could really spend all day picking your brain, Gonzalo, but I'm gonna limit myself to one more question for you. And you did just give an example, but do you have any other examples of a brand or brands they're really leading the pack when it comes to responsible, respectful, impactful, creative marketing that is geared toward multicultural audiences? And I'll say especially the Hispanic market, since they are the fastest growing population segment in the US, and therefore they're offering such a huge opportunity for the marketplace.
I think those that really have in their DNA the importance of multicultural audiences in everything a brand is doing are the ones that are winning. And you can see these again. There are companies that have been doing Hispanic for 40 years, and they have learned so much. Now, if you're a newcomer and you're in the same category of that guy that has been around for 40 years and has a ton of experience in the marketplace, what do? Do you just walk away? You just give up? I always say the same. No, you need to find your space there. You need to learn as quick as possible. And actually, probably one of the best things you can do is look at what that competitive brand has done, because you're going to learn a lot about what they have done that worked or didn't work. Now, to your point, I think that the perfect case is when you have a team at the agencies that has the representation and the knowledge, and a client that has multicultural ingrained in the way they think. And again, it's not an afterthought, it's not an independent audience, it's not when I have money I would do it. It's part of what they do every day, it's part of what they talk every day. There are many clients that are really committed, and you can see that commitment when, number one, if there's a budget cut, Hispanics or Black doesn't go through the window first. I mean, that's when you see the commitment. I always say to the teams, you know what, if there's a budget cut, it's part of the business. Now, if they're cutting Hispanic now, that's a problem. That's when we need to go back and say, hey, why? Again, you don't see that from those clients that really have a commitment, because it's part of their way of being. It's so part of their culture that no one would ever say, oh, well, you know what, I don't have enough money this year, so let's cut Hispanic and we skip 1 year. They don't do it. It's just not part of the way they think. So again, it goes back to what I said at the very, very beginning. It's about inclusive marketing. Every single audience should be included in everything a brand is doing, period. And then from there, we can go as far as we want. Of course, there's SKUs. Of course, there are products that are going to be more appealing to one audience than another one. Absolutely fine. But this is not about thinking the old general market, and old not because they are older, which they are, but also because it doesn't exist as general market anymore. The general market today is a combination of cultures, races, ethnicities, languages. You cannot just think about general market as the white traditional population, because it's not that. And again, this is not Gonzalo saying it. Turn around, check out the census. It came out recently. You're going to see there, and you guys see this all the time when you do your analysis, where culture is intertwined. The impact that some cultures are having in other cultures is happening every day. This is how we are behaving in a very dynamic way. So as dynamic, the population and the culture is within the country, as dynamic marketing should be, and not just a static same way of doing business as we used to.
Great answer. So thank you, Gonzalo. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. And I'm sure I speak for our viewers when I say I can't wait to see what's up next for you and Group M.
There's always something. We're always working on new stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to be announcing more things very soon.
Awesome. And before we do hop off the line, where's the best place to keep up with you? Do you have a website you want to plug or contact information that you just want to share with the world?
I mean, the easiest way is through the GroupM website. All my information is there. People can find me on Twitter, Gonzalo Del Fa, or hashtag Gonzalo Del Fa. So it's kind of easy. And I would say on LinkedIn, if they put my name, they're gonna find me there too. And again, I'm always around, so I'm pretty easy to be found. So if anyone has any questions, or if everyone wants to reach out and ask something specific, more than happy to get in touch.
Thanks again, Gonzalo. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, and great seeing you.
Well, folks, there you have it. A great conversation with Gonzalo Del Fa, President of GroupM Multicultural. If you missed the contact information he just shared and you're watching this on Claritas' YouTube channel, you can find all the details in the description box below. Thank you for spending a few minutes as a fly on the wall for our discussion about multicultural consumer markets. If you want to know more, visit our website, www.claritas.com. See you soon.